And we're back. I'm going to show you my thinking here on notability. So a couple questions I had. What happened to her after she started living with Charbonneau? And when did she start her big expedition? Because I know she's going to be going on a big expedition, big journey. But when did that actually start? So remember, you only have to have one question in each box, but you can have more than one for sure. Okay, back to our story.
A fur trader's wife.
In 1803, so the core of discovery, our new section. In 1803, President Thomas Jefferson made a deal with France that almost doubled the size of the United States. He planned an expedition to explore the territory. He wanted to find a water route to the Pacific Ocean. He called the mission the Core of Discovery. So President Thomas Jefferson there. So that big purchase was called the Louisiana Purchase. In 1803, President Thomas Jefferson made a deal with France for land west of the Mississippi River. The deal was called the Louisiana Purchase. Jefferson paid about 3 cents an acre for the land, and it stretched to the Rocky Mountains. So very cool visual map here. You can see the green is where the United States was. That's like where our states were. The yellow in the middle are our territories. So that's stuff we own, but they actually weren't states. You can actually see part of Minnesota there. Right in the middle. Consist right in the middle right there. That's kind of that pointy little top, jagged top and that little point. That's the top of Minnesota. So at that point we still were just a territory. We were not a state yet. Then Louisiana Purchase, huge section of land. Disputed territory, this is like that purplish bluish. That means nobody knows for sure like kind of who owns that land then. But then British or Spanish territory. So big sections were still owned by Spain, called New Spain at that point. That went all the way down into Mexico. And that would change eventually to Spanish Florida down there, and British North America up there. So a lot of difference, very, very different at that point of time. Captain Meriwether Lewis and Captain William Clark led the expedition. In the spring of 1804, they left St. Louis, Missouri in a keelboat and smaller wooden boats called pirogues. They traveled through areas including what is now Missouri, Nebraska, Iowa, and South Dakota. In November, they reached the Knife River villages and planned to stay for the winter. They set up camp and called it Fort Mandan. The Corps spent the weather in present-day North Dakota. So it's really cool. One of the reasons why I chose this book too is a lot of this history is very near us. You can see a lot of these things still. And like Mandan is a city in North Dakota. I'm not going to read this part, but this just gives you a little bit more background on Sakakawea and what it was like when she was living. The expedition. Over the winter, Lewis and Clark hired Charbonneau as an interpreter. They knew he would bring Sakakawea too. And an interpreter is somebody who can speak different languages to help people who don't speak those languages. Lewis and Clark needed her because she spoke Shoshone. She could help them talk with the Shoshone Indians to trade for horses. Without horses, the Corps of Discovery might not have made it across the Rocky Mountains. So, I'm going to go back here. So, in the spring of 1804, that's when Lewis and Clark left for their expedition. But they over that next winter, that's when they hired Charbonneau and Sakakawea. So they didn't really leave for their expedition until 1805, but that was one of my answers. They began in 1805. And what happened to her after she started living? Well, 2 men named Lewis and Clark hired them to help explore land in North America. Let me go fix this here. Always good to go back and reread. Okay, so I got answers except for that first one. Why should we remember Sakakawea? And I'm also thinking about at least one more question as I continue reading.
In February
of 1805, Sakakawea gave birth to Jean Baptiste Charbonneau. Captain Clark nicknamed him Pompey. When the Corps left in April, it had 33 crew members, including Charbonneau, Sakakawea, Pompey, and one large dog. In his own words, the sight of this Indian woman confirmed those people of our friendly intentions, as no woman ever accompanies a war party of Indians in this quarter. So just basically, it was really, really helpful to have her. One, we saw in the last part that she helped talk with the Shoshone tribe, which was her first tribe. She helped them get horses, what they really needed for this really, really long journey. Also, having her with when they'd be visiting different people showed that this was for peaceful, friendly exploration. They were not coming to try to take land, to take things. So she really acted as a symbol of peace too. So, I'll keep on reading here, and then I'm gonna jump to the end just to really show you, kind of like do a big recap of like why she was so important. So, quick thinking. Sakakewe's language skills were important to the mission, but it wasn't long before she helped the Corps in other ways. One day, high winds tipped one of the boats. Water poured in, soaking important items. Sakakewe fished journals, compasses, boats, clothing, and other valuable supplies out of the water. It took 3 days for everything to dry. In his journal, Captain Clark noted Sakakewe's calm, quick thinking. So we have his pocket compass there, and then pages from his journals, which were really important because that talked about all the things that they were discovering and finding. In his own words, the Indian woman pointed to the gap through which she said we must pass. Captain Clark, 1806. She was also a very good navigator. She really knew this land, and she could help them along the way. So I'm going to go here towards the end. It's going to let me do a big jump. Here we go. Okay. So this is just in honor of Sakakawea. In the years following the Corps of Discovery's journey, Sakakawea became known as a heroine, a hero. She was the strong, smart woman who helped the expedition. All of the United States statues, monuments, memorials, parks, mountain peaks, schools, and other landmarks celebrate her courage and her role in American history. You can visit a monument in Sakakewe's honor near her birthplace. It is now Salmon, Idaho. That's Sakakewe Memorial. Word to know, memorial, something created to remind people of a person, event, or important idea. So people in Washington State named this rock Sakakawea and Papoose Rock to honor Sakakawea. So I'm gonna be coming back. What I want you to do is think of at least one more question. And you'll come back and see my question too. You'll get to see my question and answer.